Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are looking at mastering device versus devise, the ultimate grammar detective guide. We're literally putting on our detective hats to look into one of the absolute sneakiest vocabulary mix-ups in the entire English language. I mean, device with a C and devise with an S, they look almost completely identical, right? But they play totally different roles. So let's crack this case and figure out how to never ever mix these two up in an important email again.
Okay, let's start with a classic piece of evidence. Take a look. I bought a new device. So what's wrong here? At first glance, your brain might just skip right over the error because honestly, it looks so normal. But if you've ever typed this out and seen that dreaded red squiggly line pop up, you know something is definitely off. The writer is obviously trying to say they bought a physical gadget, right? But by using the word with an S, they've actually used an action word. It is literally the grammatical equivalent of saying, I bought a new run. It just doesn't work.
So here is the fundamental DNA difference between these two deceptive little words. Device with a C is a noun. It represents a physical object, a tangible thing out there in the real world, like a tool you can actually hold in your hand. Devise with an S, on the other hand, well, that's a verb. It's an action. Specifically, it's a mental process happening right inside your head. So, noun versus verb, physical object versus mental process. Locking in this one contrast is honestly half the battle. Let's break down the noun first. A device, spelled with a C, is a tool, machine, or mechanism made for a really specific purpose. Like the smartphone you might be holding right now, that is an electronic device. Doctors use medical devices, security cameras are security devices. The main takeaway here, a device is a physical thing. It has mass, it was manufactured in a factory somewhere, and you can physically touch it. Now let's look at its tricky sibling. Devise, with an S, is a verb. It means to plan, invent, or create a method, strategy, or solution. So we aren't building a physical object out of metal or plastic here. We're building an idea. Think about it. When scientists solve a massive, complex issue, or, when a movie hero maps out this elaborate escape plan, they aren't building a gadget. They're devising a plan in their minds.
Okay, I absolutely love this next part. Here is a secret cheat code for your memory. If you ever freeze up while writing, just look at the spelling. Notice the last four letters of device with a C. D-I-C-E. Dice. And what are dice? They're physical objects, right? You can pick them up, shake them around, and roll them in your hand. So whenever you see that C, just think of dice, and you'll instantly remember you're talking about a physical piece of hardware.
And here is the second half of that trick. Look at devise with an S. Focus on the letters V-I-S. What does that kind of remind us of? Vision. A vision is an idea. It's a plan for the future that you see in your mind's eye. So the S gives us vision, meaning creating a strategy internally. Dice for physical objects, vision for mental plans. It's such a simple little distinction, but I promise you, it works every single time.
Now, the difference isn't just on paper. It's actually in how these words physically feel to say out loud. For the noun, device, it ends with this really sharp, voiceless S sound. Device. But for the verb, devise, it ends with a voiced Z sound. Devise. Actually, try this real quick. Put your fingers on your throat and say devise. You can actually feel your vocal cords vibrating on that Z. Device has zero vibration. It's a tiny auditory clue, but it makes a massive difference in sounding totally natural when you speak.
So let's see how this actually builds into your everyday vocabulary. Because devise with an S is all about mental creation. It kind of acts like a magnet for certain nouns. You devise a strategy, a plan, a method, a solution, a system, or a way. If you ever need a really strong action verb to put right in front of these conceptual words, devise is exactly what you're looking for to make your writing sound incredibly precise.
Now, a really great question that comes up a lot is, well, how is devise different from invent? It's a totally fair point because they both mean to create something new. But invent is heavily tied to creating a brand new physical machine, like Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Devise, though, leans way more into the abstract. A corporate business team doesn't invent a strategy, they devise it. You invent a physical machine, but you devise a brilliant plan.
And that actually brings us to an interesting vocabulary comparison. So we know a device is a physical thing, usually a highly specific, complex mechanism, right? Like a GPS tracking device. Equipment, on the other hand, usually refers to a whole set of items used for a specific purpose, like all the medical equipment inside a hospital room. And then a tool is typically a much simpler implement used for manual labor, like a hammer or a wrench. Understanding these subtle boundaries is a total game changer for elevating the precision of your writing. All right, time for a quick test. Let's see this in action. We need to blank a better solution. So, which one fits? A, device, or B, devise? Well, if we look at the phrase right after the blank, a better solution, we know that a solution is a mental concept. Plus, grammatically, we need to totally tells us we need a verb. Therefore, the only logical fit is the verb with the S. We need to devise a better solution. Boom! Nailed it. Okay, now for the ultimate challenge. This is the exact kind of sentence you might see on a super high-level English proficiency exam. The researchers devised a sophisticated device to measure air pollution. Just look at how beautifully these two work together in the same sentence. First up, the action. They devised, with that vibrating Z sound, using their brilliant minds to plan. And what did they create? A sophisticated device, with that sharp S sound, a physical object. Action first, physical object second. It's the whole shebang right there. So have you completely mastered the difference between the physical tools you hold and the brilliant plans you create? We've definitely mapped it all out today. Just remember the dice in device and the vision in devise. Words are absolutely the ultimate tools, or devices, that we use to communicate. And the more precisely we use them, the more powerful our ideas actually become. But hey, if a single letter can completely change the entire function of a word like this, it kind of makes you wonder, what other invisible grammar traps are hiding in those emails we send every single day? Keep devising amazing strategies for your learning, and we'll explore the next big mystery in our next explainer.